Hello, my name is Ellen, and today I'm here to talk to you about Julian Opie's wall painting, There Are Hills in the Distance. 12 years ago, in the late spring of 2013, I was up in London with my dad on one of our trips to visit my uncle, who was working in Soho at the time. We'd go up for the weekend, catching the train from down in South Devon, rushing past fields of green and shards of blue as we wind our way up into blocks of greys and browns. Whilst we were up there, we'd wander along the canals, catch the tube, and end up in galleries for most of the day. Being so young, like 4 at the time, means I don't remember much of these trips now at all. The time exists in photos for me, really. But I remember the feeling they gave me. I remember the feeling of being totally dwarfed by everything ever that was going on, not only in the city and the people, but in the art. The strongest example is a visit to the Tate Britain on the 18th of May in 2013, where I saw Julian Opie's large-scale wall painting, There Are Hills in the Distance. Made in 1996 and installed by professional sign painters under Opie's instructions, I find it now to be a really interesting piece. It's applied using a roller and water-based acrylic paint for even application, with low-tack masking tape around the edges of the installation to ensure clean-cut lines dividing the room from the view. Typically, it's installed along one long wall. However, 2 adjacent walls are equally acceptable. And the painting itself has a practical flexibility. Its dimensions are determined by the space it is born in, and it's a space maker, a space-defining technique. As quoted by Opie, the idea is not to decorate the room, but create a panorama or view. It's even been used as a background in some of his exhibitions, as shown here in You Are Driving a Volvo, 1996, and You See an Office Building, 2, 3, 4, and 5, also all from 1996. In my experience, it's not just an idea to create a panorama or view, but a reality. As I, at 4 years old, stood before an achingly vast, starlit corner in a gallery in London, I was submerged in a field of colour. Being so small before something so tall, my eyes didn't catch the clean-cut lines dividing the room from the view. To me, I was home. Angular planes of green and blue colliding at horizon line parallel to the floor conveyed the rolling patchwork hills and stretching flat sea I grew up amongst on the South Devon coast. I didn't see the Middle European fields Opie drew inspiration from. I didn't see the Loire Valley he took his residency in during the build-up to this piece. I saw colour singing to me, of a physical resemblance embodying the view from my grandparents' kitchen window. The resonance of those colours, from deep to yellow and green, and then back again with zones of lightning blue, created an abstracted world that I easily lost myself in. This is how I got to see the work of Julian Opie in person, and started my long journey into the world of colour and form. Before I continue, I want to talk a bit more about Opie and his inspiration for the piece, as I think it allows for a greater understanding of this work. We're all likely to know of Opie's work somehow, whether we realise it or not, with his most recognised piece being the Blur compilation cover, shown here on the left, consisting of 4 individual portraits of the band's members. They are titled Damon, singer, Graham, guitarist, Alex, bassist, and Dave, drummer, all done in 2000 on varying colour-blocked backgrounds. Opie is also responsible for Escaped Animals, a metal and vinyl signage installation in 2002, and Shahida Walking, an LED double-sided monolith in 2015, which is now permanently installed opposite Carnaby Street in Soho. I was actually up in London quite recently. I was going around collectors' galleries down Cork and Daring Street, and whilst passing through Carnaby Street, looking for lunch, I saw Shahida Walking, which was pretty surreal amongst this hustling mass of people moving through Soho on a closing winter's afternoon. And then the next day, totally by chance, I ended up seeing 2 more of Opie's works, both vinyl portraits, titled Leanne and Ed, Lift, 2008, and Katerina Dancing in Black Trousers, 4, 2010. Both quite dynamic pieces, juxtaposing the work I'd seen 12 years before. Julian Opie was born in 1958 in London, England, and raised in Oxford to a wealthy middle-class family. His father, Roger Opie, was a well-known economist and academic. His mother, Norma, was a teacher. He grew up with his sister, Mary Jane, and describes going out boating with his family as a child, where he would draw the slowly passing views as they hugged the coastline. He and his sister would recreate these scenes, with fields of green separated by thin strips of blue and brown on the wall of their family's coastal summer home. He later went on to study at the Chelsea School of Arts, and then Goldsmiths, and emerged in the late 1980s with a group exhibition at the Lisson Gallery, alongside artists such as Jenny Holzer and Keith Haring. He'd also had an exhibition at the Institute of Contemporary Arts in London, had a major retrospective of his work at the Hayward Gallery, and been awarded the Sargent Fellowship at the British School in Rome. And he'd also walked down Tottenham Court Road and begun the process of inspiration for his 1996 work, There Are Hills in the Distance. In an interview with The Guardian in 2013, Opie described how he'd been struck by the stacked computer screens he walked past on Tottenham Court Road, all playing various screensavers. From this, he went out and bought a load of computer games, not really playing at all, but standing out and looking, spending hours immersed in the pixelated landscapes, taking in the composition and shapes before him. He bought flight simulation packages and devoured the endless landscapes defined by the low turning triangles of the hills in the distance. Then, soon after, in 1995, he took up a 6-month residency in the Loire Valley, spending all day out roaming, absorbing, and falling in love with the central French landscape around him, punctuated by blue skylines and these sort of dusky valleys just softly defining the area. The following year, There Are Hills in the Distance was presented to and acquired by the Tate in 1996. What is so fantastic about There Are Hills in the Distance is that it's largely derived from computer-generated images. It totally flips the current fear of artificial intelligence taking over artistic livelihoods on its head. Instead of a computer taking inspiration and making profit from a person is taking inspiration and making profit from a computer. From the screensavers in Tottenham Court Road to the flight simulations in his bedroom at home, Opie takes these pixels and codes and claims them his own in a wonderful fine art way. He derives his modules from photographs. In the 1990s, the worry was that cameras would take over artists' livelihoods. And now it's artificial intelligence, with cameras long thought in as a threat and seen more now as another medium to work in. It's so cyclical. He's always used technology to make fine artworks, and it's always been a bit cutting edge, whether 30 years ago with multiple modules derived from photographs, inspired by computers, fields, and valleys, or today. He's so current in all his work. He's pretty timeless. He naturally draws on ways that echo computer graphics and commercial design. He's an artist who has a wonderful ability to make a style of artwork that is sometimes seen as soulless, really, really connective. He's carried on the tradition of landscape art and carried it through to the 21st century. There Are Hills in the Distance is an important work of art. It defies the perceived social and economic boundaries connotated with fine art by being a wall painting, as opposed to a mounted, framed, or canvas piece. It advocates for accessible art, saying art does not have to be untouchable or on a vessel specifically made for painting in order to be beautiful. And it involves a practical flexibility. Its dimensions are determined by the place in which it is to be installed. This allows it to be installed anywhere for anyone to see. Whether you take half a minute or half an hour, anyone who comes into a space and sees this piece can find a home within the turning planes of colour that may stay with them forever, immersing, absorbing, and losing themselves in the view. Not only that, but the piece also toys with the heavy idea of artificial intelligence and computers taking over artistic livelihoods in a very lovely, inspiring way, something which is hugely relevant to the current art world. Despite its current mainstream media portrayal, I wonder whether there will be something else in artificial intelligence's place in 30 years' time, threatening artistic livelihoods like the computers and cameras before it. But more than anything, this view envelops me. I am 4 and immersed in a well-lit painted corner in London. I am now 16 and feel my immersion resonating through bleeding colour pixels. It speaks to me of seeing my uncle when I was younger, of my grandparents' farm, the coast where I grew up. It speaks of nostalgia and resonance and safety. I find a sort of home in colour, an abstracted colour, and art that is just this. This makes me feel so whole and full and rested. Everything is in balance looking at this piece. It makes me feel so much in such a stable, held way, allowing for nothing and everything ever all at once. The common home that Julian Opie creates in There Are Hills in the Distance is something I find very beautiful, creating a space in which everyone, aged 4 to 94, can lose themselves in subtly, softly, and familiarly, whilst being current and modern and timeless. It's incredible. To finish my talk today, I want to leave you with a slight memento. 12 years ago, in the late spring of 2013, I was up in London with my dad on one of our trips to visit my uncle, who was working in Soho at the time. I was taken to the Tate Britain, and amongst other artworks saw Julian Opie's wall painting, There Are Hills in the Distance. It didn't change my life or radicalise my 4-year-old sense of self. It wasn't dramatic or particularly eventful, and yet it instilled in me an appreciation for colour that I don't think will ever leave. It sparked a long, long journey into tone, form, and composition, into colour, into art. If there's anything I'd like for you to take from this today, it's to take your 4-year-old to a gallery. Daughter, son, niece, nephew, grandkid, friend's kid, mate's kid. Take them out and let them roam in a gallery for a while. Thank you.